In the end of the course, I want to have an application where we are able to log in, log out and so on, and create messages, as well as edit and delete them. Well, we're not going to write all of that in this video, but let's start with the messages part. I'll get rid of the hello world and content thing here so that the app component HTML file is totally empty. And then in here, I want to set up some Bootstrap styling. Now, for this styling to work, I will first create the outermost Bootstrap class, a container, and I use Emmet here as a plugin, which allows me to create classes like this by hitting tab then. And then here I want to have a row, let's say with colMD8 and some offsetting. So this is all just some Bootstrap styling. The Bootstrap CSS framework has nothing to do with Angular 2, just to give this a nice grid and position it nicely. Now in here, I want to create such a message. And of course, later on, we will fill this with some life and make this more dynamic. For now, I'll hard code everything. So here I want to have an article, which uses the Bootstrap panel class and their panel default. Again, just to give this some nice Bootstrap styling. And if you want to learn more about available Bootstrap styles, visit getbootstrap.com. And here you can browse all available components and things. So in this article here, I'll now create a panel body like this, where I want to output the content of my message. And below I'll have a footer of class panel footer. And here I want to output, let's say, some info about the author. I'll assign a class author, which is a custom class I'll create. And then here a class config, which is also a custom class. And then I want to have two anchor tags where I say edit and let's say delete. Of course, I will hook them up later on. Now to also output something, let's go back to the app component file and let's create a new message object here, a new property, message, which is a JavaScript object. And in here, let's say we have a content where we say a message, and then we might have an author, which is Max. Of course, choose your favorite name and content. And in the component, then using string interpolation, as we saw before, we can output content. Oops, the other way around. We named it message and their content, and here the author. So message author. If I save this, I didn't do anything else than before. I used string interpolation and I also used some Bootstrap classes. In the running application, if we reload, you should see something like this. Already looks nice. But I would like to have a different styling. I want to have the author here on the left and the edit and delete button on the right. Now I could achieve this with built-in Bootstrap classes. But I also want to show you how we can apply styles to a component in Angular 2 which then only apply to this component and to no other part in the application. We can do this by adding a new property to our add component decorator here. In here, what I can do is I can add styles, which is just another field to configure this component, and this takes an array. In here, I can set up all the styles I want to only apply to this component. So if I style a h1 tag here, you use normal CSS styling, then you will only style all h1 tags in this component and in no other component in the application. Angular 2 will make sure that they only get applied to elements in the template of this component, which is a very powerful feature. Now in this styles array, to create a multi-line string, because we have to pass a string here, I use backticks, which allows me to do just that. You write over multiple lines here while still having a string and not getting any errors. I will paste in some pre-prepared styles, which basically just turn these elements to block elements and then, well, position them as I want them to be positioned. With this styling, if I now save this so that everything recompiles and then I reload my application, well, once it finished recompiling here, you see now it is evenly positioned, or it is positioned the way I want it to be positioned. And the important takeaway is, if we now would use the author class in any other place of the application, and you can try this out, you will see that it won't get these styles because these are now limited to the scope of this component.